So first step of taking this out is I gotta remove these screws right here. Removing these. So I'll have to tighten those up. And this slides out like that. And down behind here is the wiring harness for the pedestal. So just remove that. So this thing just lifts up. Like that, and then forward, and then comes out. And then I have access back in here to the rudder pedals, so that I can make some adjustments on this, because it's not returning back to neutral properly. I gotta fix that too. Might as well do that while I have it all taken apart and figure out what's going on with that. So I'll just remove the clevis. Remove the seats. There. Now that it's tilted up, I can get under here and clean all the dust and dirt. Look at that. We've got cat hair wrapped around there and amber hair wrapped around there. And clean the dirt off the wheels. See, that one's really dirty there. And clean all the crap off of the view. A bunch of crap on there. Kitty hair and dust. So those all need to be cleaned up. And then the bottom of here, you can see that there's a bunch of dust and debris and cat hair and stuff there. So that all needs to be cleaned up. Once we got all that cleaned up, go ahead and check these. Make sure that they're nice and tight. One on this side, one on this side here. Yep, that's better. So I got all the wheels cleaned off. Those look better. I got the tracks all cleaned out. And those look better. And the floor cleaned up. So one of the problems you can see right here is these are not the same springs. This one is longer. So obviously, and then on top of it, it's not quite as stiff as this one. So this one's obviously going to return back further back than this one will, because this one just isn't as strong of a spring. So I've got these stronger springs, which is how I broke the rudder pedals to begin with, by putting these on there, and these were actually stronger than the PVC. But I did make some fixes, so I might try these again and see what happens. And here's the other two return springs. You see it's the same issue. This one is longer than this one. So obviously the shorter one is going to return further back than the longer one. So that's not going to work either. So I guess I'm going to try these springs again and hope that my repair is enough to hold. Okay, so I got the new springs installed. This one on this side here. This one over here on this side. And to do this and get it to center, I had to loosen these on the top and the bottom, and then pull this whole thing back this way a little bit. And then there's, this is the potentiometer for it. And there's the little nut right there. And I loosen the nut here and then move the potentiometer back and forth until it's zeroed out at 512, which is 50% when the pedals are neutral. And pressing this one, it goes to 100%, or 0% rather. Pressing this pedal, it goes to 100%. So that's how that works. And it seems to work okay now, so cool. But in the meantime, I noticed a couple of things. One thing, look at this. It's completely loose. You can see the gaps right here. So these have come loose. So I need to tighten all this stuff back up. So that just gives you an idea of what vibration can do to the simulator over a year. So I got those tightened up. Now I have a real Cessna trim wheel here, and I'd like to put that in place of it. But there's some challenges. For one thing, it's got this sprocket on here that takes like a maybe smaller than a bicycle chain, something like that. And right now I've got these gears that I pulled out of a printer that I'm using to drive the potentiometer in there, and they just happen to be the right size to give me the proper ratio. If I were to switch to a chain, so I'd have to have a sprocket hooked to the potentiometer there, and if you moved it past the stop on the potentiometer, it could damage it. Right now what happens is the gear just stops moving. It just chatters, and so it's kind of a safety. So let's go and I'll show you. See, it just stops moving. I'm looking at this damage right here. So what happened was I was moving around in there from seat to seat doing some work on it, and I kicked the pedestal and it moved it to the side and caused this big rip right here. So I'd like to figure out a way to fix this. That's the hazard of working with cardboard, is it's flimsy. And then, of course, being clumsy doesn't help any at all. So I might have to cut it into a square and then cut a small square to glue in there or something. Okay, so here's my patch piece that I put in there, and it fits pretty good. So I just need to glue it in. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue this little piece right here. It'll be kind of messy. It's hot. And that's what it looks like. It's not actually pretty, but it'll work. Okay, so putting this back in is the exact reverse of taking it out. Got to do the wiring harness here. So I'm gonna use this light to help. Just hook these back together. All right, looks good. And then put this back in. All right, so that looks nice. Now for this one, I'm tired of this always coming loose here. And getting tight around this friction lock. So I'm going to use a little bit of red silicone RTV gasket maker, sealant, whatever you want to call it. Put a little dab on there. And since I don't have a wrench that's really big enough, and this is brass, this method can damage the outside of the nut there. Yeah, that's good. It's nice and snuggish. As snug as it's gonna get. I mean, it is made out of cardboard. You're probably wondering why I didn't make it out of something heavier, like maybe MDF masonite or some paneling or something. It's because I didn't have any, and I have tons of free cardboard, so cardboard it is. Besides, this is actually supposed to just be a prototype for a later version that's going to be made out of sturdier materials. So I just wanted to prototype it and get something so that I had something to find out how well it worked and not have to spend a lot of money doing it, because there's nothing worse than spending a lot of money on a project to find out that you didn't do it right. So that's it.